Hey everyone, my name is Justin and I'm here today to help you solve any problems you're having with getting 120 Hz to work on your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series S or X with maybe a new to you gaming monitor, a brand new monitor, or a gaming TV. Why isn't 120 Hz working? I'll walk you through how to make sure that you're compatible and it will work, and the settings you may need to change or a cable you may need to change to make it work. We should be able to solve at least why it's happening and hopefully give you a fix. So, the first thing, it's not the most fun, but you need to make sure that your monitor or TV is actually compatible with running 120 Hz over HDMI. Especially gaming monitors. Older gaming monitors supported the good resolutions over DisplayPort because there was no next-gen consoles that needed 120 Hz at 1080p or 1440p over HDMI. So some of them only supported over DisplayPort, or some of them required some settings changes. What you're going to need to do is Google the model number of your monitor and manual and check at the bottom, typically it's at the bottom of the manual, supported resolutions. It will walk you through what your monitor supports over DisplayPort and HDMI. What you're looking for is either 1920 by 1080 at 120 Hz or 2560 by 1440 at 120 Hz over HDMI. If you see those resolutions listed in the supported resolutions under HDMI, you are good to go. Sometimes what you'll see, I'm looking at you LG users out there, is that it's supported, but you got to change a setting. You got to turn your HDMI compatibility mode off. That's fixed it for a lot of people in the comments section. So LG users, look for that. Other brands, again, in the manual, it will tell you if there's some special setting you can change to support that resolution. Unfortunately, if you don't see those resolutions, 1920 by 1080 at 120 Hz, 2560 by 1440p at 120 Hz, supported in your monitor over HDMI, your monitor just may not be compatible, and that could be why you're not getting 120 Hz. In that case, if it's supported over DisplayPort, you can look. There's maybe some adapters out there I've heard that work that convert essentially HDMI out of your Xbox or PlayStation 5 into DisplayPort. It's worked for some people, or you're going to be looking for a new monitor if you really want to get 120 Hz. So first thing, check your manual, make sure it's supported. Second thing, make sure your gaming console is set up so it works with 120 Hz. PlayStation 5 users, you have two options: resolution mode, which does 4K primarily at 60 Hz for most monitors, or performance mode, which will, instead of doing 4K, will do 1440p or 1080p at 120 Hz. If you want 120 Hz, put it in performance mode, not resolution mode. It's a fairly easy change in the setting. Make sure you've got it set for that. Xbox users, what can happen is even monitors like this behind me, this is a BenQ Mobius, and it supports 1440p or 1080p, but it also will accept a 4K signal and just downscale it. But if you try and send it a 4K signal, it doesn't have enough bandwidth to do 120 Hz as well. So the Xbox may pick up, hey, it supports 4K, I'm going to send it 4K, but I'm only going to send 60 Hz. If you disable 4K, depending on your monitor and your different settings, sometimes what that will do is then tell the Xbox, say, hey, don't send 4K, but send 1440p or 1080p, and then it'll recognize, oh, I can send you that, but at 120 Hz because you have enough bandwidth. So try disabling 4K, or sometimes try disabling HDR. That may help in getting the right bandwidth for sending to your monitor at 120 Hz. Give that a shot. The next thing to check is just to make sure that you have cables that support 120 Hz. This gets a little bit technical, but stick with me here. You'll probably figure it out. There's different levels of HDMI. You've maybe heard about HDMI 2.1 is the new standard that supports 4K at 120 Hz. Older monitors, like I had a 1080p monitor, it had HDMI 1.4. It would take 1080p at 120 Hz, but if I would have tried to use a really old HDMI cable that was maybe the older version 1.3, 1.2, version 1, it doesn't have enough bandwidth to actually send that, and it will detect in the signal chain going, oh, I've only got, this much bandwidth, I can't do it. If you want 1440p at 120 Hz, everything needs to be at least HDMI 2.0. So just make sure that your cable is at least HDMI 2.0. Just use the cable that came with your Xbox or your PlayStation 5. It's an HDMI 2.1 cable. Or just check. Sometimes if you have an old cable in there, that can break the signal chain. So just check your cables. But provided that your monitor supports the resolution that you want at 120 hertz over HDMI, and you've got your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series S or X set, and you've got the right cable, the last thing, and this, well, maybe it doesn't sound silly, your game has to support 120 hertz. There are lots of games out there that don't support 120 hertz. So if you're trying to play a game, just because you have a next-gen console and a monitor supports it, the game also has to actually be set up to do 120 hertz. So just if you're not sure, Fortnite, Warzone, they do 120 hertz. They're free. Download those games. Fortnite, there's a setting you got to turn on to enable 120 hertz. That's something to check as well inside the game to enable it. But make sure your game is actually running 120 hertz and is able to do that. I think Warzone will natively do that, but Fortnite, if you're a Fortnite user, make sure it's in the settings. So make sure you've got a 120 hertz game. But 120 hertz game going over compatible cables to a monitor that supports it in the right mode that you've got your Xbox or PlayStation 5 set up in, it will work. But try those tips. Let me know what you found. If you're still not getting 120 hertz, drop a comment below. I'd be happy to help you. Or if you realize you went and checked your monitor settings and it doesn't support it, I'm going to have some recommendations below at different monitors in different price points. Appreciate the support. If you want to click on those links and order a monitor through Amazon with me, that's great. But just happy to help. So feel free to drop the comments below, ask any other questions. My name's Justin. Hopefully that helped you. Thanks.